Hello and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back once again, talking TNA wrestling shenanigans. And by God, Michael, TNA, we just recently talked about them signing the Sportsnet deal. And they had their first episode. I don't think I've got much information, unfortunately, about it as of yet, but we hopefully will find out some more. I think they did like half the numbers that like NXT did from there. So they're not too bad. It's not too bad, but that's not amazing. But again, it's like half the WWE audience. Okay, it's not horrible. So we hope for more, and we'll see. But now, recently, they have signed, like, I think it's 2 new deals. Maybe it's 3. So I think some of these deals haven't been 100% confirmed. But there is, like, with the Sports Network deal, there was lots of rumor or sort of reporting of it before it sort of became like official. So we probably won't get a lot of details for a little bit with this. But I do want to discuss some of this because it is in the pipeline, or it has been reported out there as well. So we will discuss it here. All right. So, right. I'm not sure whether this is... let's see. Is this the first one or not? Let's see. I don't know if it's the first one. I can't find the other one apparently. But apparently this is the first one that I'm going to read. There's another one, and there's another 2. Okay, right. TNA has signed a new US TV deal, which will see TNA Impact air weekly on Saturdays. So this is after their Thursday broadcast, 12 to 2 p.m., which is an afternoon time slot there on NESN. I believe this is in the United States. This is not replacing the Access TV, obviously, because it's not at the same time. It's on a delay from the original broadcast. This is just a supplemental TV ratings agreement to allow slightly more homes to get TNA programming. Well, duh. But yeah, certainly that is true. Now, let's see if I can find the second one, because I've found the third one. Well, I don't know. It's really weird. No, that's not the right one. Okay. Let's see if I can find it. It's crazy that I can't find it. Okay. This is a bit annoying. Where is it? It is really annoying. Really annoying. Is this it? No. That's not it. Oh, it might be... There was a UK one, I think. This might actually be it. TNA secures another new domestic TV deal. TNA Impact will debut tomorrow on the New England Sports Network, PWI Insider confirms. So this is for England. So this is the one that I was actually thinking. I was thinking, man, I thought it was another US one that's why I was misreading this one. I was just going past this one thinking, man, that isn't what I'm looking for, is it? And like, I didn't realize, but this is the right thing. Currently, Impact is listed as airing As this Saturday, 12 to 2, as well. Oh, yeah, Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 2. Okay. So that's fine. This this one says that the TV deal on New England Sports Network is in the US. I thought that New England. Oh well, New England is the US. That's right. I thought New England would, be in England. But New England refers to the US. Okay, so it is a US deal. Okay, that's really weird. Okay, whatever. Either way, that's another deal. The third deal, fucking find it. Where TNA Wrestling have signed a TV distribution deal with Right Now Television Network to be airing TNA Impact every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, beginning this Tuesday. Okay, so where were we? So Sportsnet gets it the same day, which is in Canada, which is fine. New England TV deal gets it on Saturday and Sunday. And then Right Now gets it on Tuesday. So that's a huge delay. Huge delay. That's crazy. Like, even a day delay would be a massive delay. Even an hour delay would probably be a fairly big delay. Especially with TNA having the spoilers out there, unfortunately, is one of those things. So that's the situation that they're in. But these TV deals, now again, they're not 100% confirmed, but again, these sorts of rumors have been confirmed in the past. So we will have to wait and see if they do come to more fruition, if they do come to more of an official status of reporting out there. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But even so, the idea, and we've heard this from a lot of people, mostly Matt Hardy, but the idea is good. That they're going out there, because any more, especially like the Sportsnet one, we can talk about that one easily because that one is 100% official now. Being distributed for free cable into Canada, about to say the US, huge deal, because then you get all of the advertising money from said. You get the same value as what anyone else will get. And I think, again, I don't even know what. I think there's hockey. I know Canadians like their hockey, but I don't even know what else is on that network. Maybe baseball. I don't know. Basketball. I don't know. All I've seen that they've posted thus far has been like hockey related stuff, and maybe like one TNA post here or there. The TNA fan base, like the fam, we're a very strong fam, and we've been through thick and thin with TNA, and a lot of us are very loyal soldiers. I don't want to say that there's no people here or whatever that are toxic, because there's certainly in every fandom or whatever there is a toxic element. So, but I don't think that the TNA fan base is as toxic. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but I don't feel like it is. You know, it's a very, like, most people here are very respectful of of what people, whatever, like, of whatever people enjoy. They just want to enjoy what they have, which is TNA, or what they enjoy, which is TNA, without people, having to defend it, or having to go over the same freaking bullshit that, everyone, sort of, piles into it. Oh, it's just WCW 2.0. So is AEW, but they're 3.0, and they're also trying to be TNA 2.0. Oh, it's changed names too many times. WWF, WWF, WW Worldwide Wrestling Entertainment, WWE. There's a lot of name changes there. They're all kind of the same. But, like, yeah, like, people don't really talk about that. NWA, WCW, ECW, from Eastern Championship Wrestling to Extreme Championship Wrestling. Very similar, but again, what was Mid-South? I think it was WCCW, whatever it was. World Class Championship Wrestling. Then became the UWF. Companies, promotions, they go through name changes, And not that I agreed with them calling it Impact. Didn't. But that's what they did. Saying it's too many name changes. Yes, they changed to GFW for whatever it was, a few months or whatever it was, or didn't, or did, or whatever it was. There were plans to, and then it fell through, or whatever. No one gives a shit. No one gives a shit whether you meant to think about calling it GFW. Of course you're not. And it's funny, I still see people, trip over calling it Impact. Impact's just the TV show. If you say, oh, Impact, then I'm assuming you're meaning the TV show. Literally just the TV show, not TNA. Which is, like, really weird to separate the brand from the TV show. Like, there's obviously TNA merch, and there's TNA stuff that exists sort of outside Impact, the TV show. There's Explosion. I don't know. There's obviously TNA Twitter, TNA this, TNA that, TNA merch, whatever. These sorts of things that kind of exist about it. It's and that branding, etc. But I know, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's sort of, I don't know, it's really weird, but either way, I guess we're not really going to go too deep into that. But again, it's just, like, like, again, like, how we were talking about, seems like WWE, like, for the most part, weren't really sending, and again, that's just probably due to the fact that NXT was mostly, like, younger guys and less established guys at the time, and I still think it is, to to TNA, and TNA was sending some of their, top guys to WWE. But people were sort of saying, well, even a top, TNA guy is, just maybe a WWE jobber, to try to, diminish, the fact that TNA was, giving WWE the better part of the deal there on talent lending, whereas WWE was just like random fodder, go, But again, it's like, well, we get that. We get that if you're going to send us some random fodder talent, that's fine. If you're going to send us people, to showcase for you, we're doing half your work. So I feel like, not, just having our talent on your show that really doesn't promote our show really helps us. Are people more likely to tune in or whatever? We don't know. We don't know how much of an effect it actually had on things. Yes, they had their best year this year, and you could say that the WWE relationship was part of that, because, WWE, like, people who think, wow, WWE is the top of the industry, which it is, and it probably always will be, is working with TNA. Like, what the hell is this? Hell is frozen over. But, it's like, well, WWE thinks that this is all right. And again, there's people who were saying about the Tessa Blanchard stuff, and I don't know whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent or whatever. But then we were hearing that, WWE is interested in Tessa Blanchard, and suddenly the conversation changed, didn't it? Suddenly it's like, oh, well, that's all right. Yeah, that's all right. But yeah. So this is what I mean, but this is also the problem that we face with trying to get TNA anywhere, is this, not only this dogma, but this still persistent perception, or it is the problem of, well, what have you done lately type deal. Because yes, of course, they haven't done very well as of late on TV, at least, but as far as arenas go, they have done some big stuff, and especially big stuff for a company that barely breaks a couple 100,000 views on TV, and their network is basically, a small dip in the ocean of, the content that's out there in the world. So again, like, you've got to think that some of this stuff is related to, that little bit of exposure, and people going, WWE is working with these guys. Well, they must have something going for them, and they must trust them to a certain extent and see where they're at and where they're going, and whatnot. So I don't know. But again, we've got to look at it as a, again, we can't rely on WWE to feed us anything. Even if they say, oh yeah, we're going to help you or whatever, if you help us, great. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And again, like, we've kind of gotten something because WWE has, left, Sportsnet, and it's leaving a lot of places in the next, or has or will be leaving the next few weeks or whatever it is. So it's like, well, they've got to replace that content with something, and TNA is sitting right there. Yes, they could pick up AEW too, I guess. There's obviously New Japan, and there's obviously the NWA. There's obviously these other promotions, MLW, all these other promotions. So again, but you look at the landscape of professional wrestling, I think NWA does run a weekly show of some sort. New Japan has never really run a proper weekly show that I have seen, and that has come across what I've thought of. It's their other shows or whatever. So TNA is the only place that does a weekly episodic show and has done for over 20 years, besides AEW and WWE. So your choices now for weekly new content are TNA and AEW. Problem being is the same problem. How do you outmaneuver AEW? Because they've been in a very good position for a very long time. Yes, their ratings and whatnot have started to dip a fair bit in the last few months, but and this is the thing. This is, I guess, the big gamble that they've got to run on trying to see what TNA can do, and that's good. If they're willing to take that gamble and are going to take that gamble, I hope for the best in this, and we've got to try to get out there and promote these things and do the best so that we can get that word out there and get those people tuning in to these shows when they're on these things once they have been officially announced or whatever. But again, we need to be saying, hey, this is, even if this is false or this turns out to fall through or whatever else that happens, we don't know. But again, even so, just saying, hey, yes, this is what we want. We want to see TNA on the rise, or at least give them a roll of the dice just to see, where can we be at? What could they do? Is there interest? What interest is there? There's not zero interest. There can't be. That just doesn't happen. The accessibility of the show is sort of was the problem. Now you're saying, okay, well, let's see if we can actually get some distribution out there and see, what numbers we might draw. And again, it's not just saying, oh, well, let's see what numbers we can draw. We're saying, well, let's see what money we can draw. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the professional wrestling business is a business. And the idea of getting these distributions isn't just to say, oh, well, let's get more exposure because more exposure. It's to get more exposure, to get more money, more eyes, more things on the product. They've done really, really well. Somehow, some way, again, scratching and clawing and fighting, and the fans, again, scratching and clawing and fighting and promoting and doing everything they can, and the street teams and whatever else, going out there and doing local interviews and doing local media and whatever else they can do to drum up interest and get people their butts into these seats. They do a great job of doing that. And they've done, amazing work in the last, year. And hopefully they can do amazing work this year. And we've got to keep that momentum going. We've got to keep showing these people, no, it's not just, going to go away. Again, the interest is there. If you give people the opportunity to say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't even know that TNA was still alive or whatever. And that's the unfortunate problem, again, or whatever, or that brand issue. What the fuck is Impact except for the TV show? Most people know that that was the TV show, but people know what TNA is. People have no clue what Impact, is. Like when you say TNA Impact, they might know that that's the TV show. When you just say Impact or Impact Wrestling, it's like, what's that? Is that some like indie promotion? Like that's what it sounds like, like it's not TNA, that thing that started 20 odd years ago or whatever it was. It's something else. I don't know what it is, and blah, 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 whatever. We don't care, Because once you've got a name, and again, even if you change it slightly, WWF, WWF, WWE, it's the same sort of thing. The same concept. I don't think you can change TNA's name, although they kind of have. It was NWA TNA back in the day, but people really ignored the NWA part from the beginning anyway, for the most part, like a lot of people ignored the NWA in front of ECW for a fair while as well as a lot of other places, but again, they had that thing of saying, well, this is TNA. Those 3 letters, those are the new letters. This is the new promotion. It might have the NWA titles, so that you've got that legacy, that history, whatever else there. But this is a new company with new wrestlers, mostly, and with a new, journey. So, again, these deals, and again, we have to, have that caveat of, well, these aren't confirmed or whatever. We don't know, that this will be confirmed or whatever. We're living in the fantasy world now of these two, at least these 2 deals. Potentia, or is it 3? Sorry, what was it? But yeah, you've got to look at that and say, that is huge success. Like even Sportsnet is huge success. One of these other deals is huge success. Another one of these deals, straight away, bang, bang, bang. Here's 2 or 3 TV deals all together, or at least news of these TV deals potentially coming together. Huge. Even the buzz from people saying, this is great, let's see more of this, let's see TNA on bigger stage, let's try to promote this, let's try to give the industry not just 2 options, let's give it 3 options, or even give it more options. And I don't know if you can find that 4th option or that 5th option or whatever else it is, but that's when the business is at its best, when there's at least 2 or 3 options, or 3 or more options. And they're all, somewhat equally viable. And that's where WWE has got to kind of change their position a little bit as well, because they're suffering from a fairly overbloated roster, and they're suffering from a lack of new star development in some ways. Yes, they've got some new stars coming up, but they've also got a bunch of older talent. And yes, you can, again, I think, like, if you've got Gunther and Goldberg and you're going to give Gunther Goldberg to Slay, that's good. But it's like, well, what else? Who else? Like Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. Those guys are getting long in the tooth. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, even Drew Galloway, Drew McIntyre. He's getting pretty long in the tooth as far as being at that top position is concerned. And yes, they've got a few years left, certainly. But you've got to find a new crop of talent. Braun Breaker is sort of kind of there, so he's starting to emerge. Even Jimmy and Jey Uso, like, they're fairly long in the tooth, and they really haven't, like, ascended to that top level. You've got, like, Roman Reigns, who's, still kind of young, but he's been up there for so sort of long and whatnot that you've got to start going, well, how are we going to find other people to replace these guys, because they're not going to be here forever, and we've got to find people to replace them. We've got to build new stars, and who are they going to be? We've got to build new tag teams, and who are those tag teams going to be? We've got to, like, I think the women's the women's roster is actually pretty spicy, despite kind of feeling like it's got a similar-ish problem. You've got Bayley, you've got Trinity, you've got Nia Jax, you've got a lot of these sort of established older wrestlers that have kind of been there for a while and kind of been around for a while. But you've kind of actually got a few younger people. I actually think, like, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, unfortunately, they're already sort of though they're newer, they're already becoming played out, because it's like there isn't anyone else. And I think, like, Charlotte, again, sort of is on that outer fence of being, like, very much an old guard. It's crazy, like, how some of these people have become, like, the old guard, like, very quickly. But that's how it all works. You've got to become that old guard at a certain point, sort of struggling to remain relevant or whatever, because there is that new crop of talent, and that new crop of talent's got to come up, because otherwise you haven't got a future. But you've got to maintain, some of these or older wrestlers. Like, I think I have heard this with Paul Heyman, and I almost 100% agree. You can't have too many of these older talent. I think maybe one or two, like, older talent per division is, like, where you should be at. Like if you have a Jerry Lynn in the X division, let's say, that's fine, because that's one guy that's in that division that's older and a much more established talent. I think in the main event scene, you can sort of get away with it a little bit more, but again, I still think that having only a couple of those guys is, like, best. You should be focusing, again, more on your younger guys. If you bring in a veteran or a older talent or a more seasoned talent or a more over talent or whatever else you want to sort of pitch as a, sort of caveat of this guy's already kind of been to that mountaintop type thing, is that, you've got to look at it like, well, they're here to do their own thing. We're here, like Nick Nemeth, perfect example. They're here to do their thing, but they're here to elevate the show, the talent, the brand, everything. But also, they're here to reinvent themselves, you know, or have, like somebody who was underused, underutilized in WWE. Hey, let's give you some shine. Let's try to make you work in this environment. And they've done that. Even like if he hadn't become world champion, I think they pushed him hard, and they showed him to be like, you know, up there, and they gave him some consistent stuff to work with. So again, they really did the best by him by saying, let's bring you in, let's do this right, let's, you know, see what you can bring to the table, and let's, go from there. Um, you know, so and I think again, like the whole "you'll never please everyone" problem comes into these TV deals. You know, like I even saw people complaining about the Sportsnet deal. I was like, dude, like that's the biggest like show that they could have been on. That was the show that WWE was on. It's still not good enough. They should be on the best. They should be on the main show of blah 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 and this and that. It's like this like moving of the goalposts like is just like one of those things we've constantly got to deal with. It's just like so ridiculous. um TNA could be like out, could have, like if they did, could have been doing numbers that were outside of what WWE was doing. They could have been getting twice as many views, they could have been getting twice as much money. But like since they brought Tessa Blanchard back, or they did this, or they did that, or they did whatever it was, there it's lol TNA, even though that they're doing way better than what WWE was doing, because that's the narrative that people want to again put out there. You know, it wouldn't matter if they were doing, and they have been doing better, but again, it doesn't matter what the metrics say, really, like to these people, and that's the problem. It's just like, yeah, that's the issue. But again, we've got to keep that train going and see where we can bring it. Like, and if you look at like free agents, or um, the open market there of wrestlers that you could pull from to bring in. It's like, yeah, there's some star power out there, certainly. But it's very much like, well, again, I think we've talked about this here and there, but again, TNA is in a very difficult position. Um, they cannot feasibly outbid WWE or AEW for talent, for a TV deal, for anything. So again, like these networks are taking big gambles in some circumstances to run TNA, and again, we hope for the best with that. We'll have to wait and see, and we'll hopefully try to push more. But again, we'll wait and see on that. But still, like, you've got to be looking at. But yeah, like they're just not gonna outbid WWE or AEW. The only way TNA can, try to, negotiate to bring in a talent, or try to negotiate a deal like these, is by offering something that WWE or AEW can't. Well, technically now just AEW, big, but nevertheless, still that's the issue that they've got to, deal with. They obviously can't deal with if WWE wants a talent from them. And some people saying, oh, well, Anthem should just pony up the money. It's not about that. Like at a certain point, there's just no way they can pony up millions and billions of dollars for talent. There's just no way they can do that. And yes, perhaps I think their money purses are a little bit too tight in some forms and some fashions and whatnot, and they're trying to tighten the knobs a little bit too much sometimes, I think, and whatnot. They've been too stingy at times, at somewhat. But again, this is why I think like they need their own budgeting, like sort of stuff going on. They really need somebody there to say, is this fine for us to pay for this? We really just need to be able to do things ourselves. We need to be given a yearly budget of this is how much you're allowed to spend. You can make all the decisions, make us money. So that's what I think that they should be like allowed to do. But that's my perspective again. But whatever. So the best thing that they can offer a talent is to come as an incentive to come to TNA is better opportunities and less dates. Less grueling schedule, less demanding. More opportunities. Not just new opponents, but new opportunities. Because look at like Nick Nemeth, 100% success story. Christian Cage, when he came to TNA back in all those years ago, big success story. He was, mid card tag team guy in WWE for a long time. He could have been at least semi-main eventer and built into a proper main eventer there in WWE, but they just didn't care and whatnot, and didn't want to do all that and whatnot. And then TNA was like, oh, okay, well, your loss is our gain. We're going to take this guy and we're going to see what we can do with him. And they made that ball roll and they had great success with it. Again, right place, right time, or right circumstances can really help places like this. Scott Steiner didn't have a great time in WWE. So where is he going to go? There wasn't many other places for him to go. Goes to TNA because at that time they had, someone who had the money purses open, a little bit. And they overused that a bit, like in the 2010s or whatever, but, is what it is. Sting, Booker T, Kurt Angle, like the Hardys, like Team 3D, like the lists of like wrestlers that they brought in, D'Lo Brown even, like some more forgettable people or whatever else here and there. But like, and again, like they recently brought in guys like Khan and this and that, Matt Cardona, here, like all these little things here and there. But again, I'm sure Nick Nemeth's handshake agreement isn't cheap. Mustafa Ali, I'm sure he wasn't cheap to get, but that's the sort of thing that, like, look at when they try to bring in Jay White, they try to bring in Kazuchika Okada, they try to bring in Will Ospreay, and a bunch of other people. They've made all these, like, pitches to all these people. I think they made pitches to MJF, but whatever. Again, we're going to talk about this again. They, like, we know Miro's deal is up in AEW at some point, sometime soon. Baron Corbin's on the free agency. There's a few names that are there on that free agency that are, well, yeah, maybe, won't 100% say no. I think there's a couple of female wrestlers on there as well. So it's like you could bring in some of these people. And again, look at when they brought in Trinity. another, success story. So they can have great success with pretty much anyone they bring in if they choose to, give them that space and they can figure it out. Because again, looking at someone like Mercedes Money or whoever else, if you've got a big money contracted talent, it's obvious that you shouldn't be sitting there and saying, well, we're not going to do anything with you, because they've got a bigger contract than almost anyone else that you've got, or even like a few people that you've got, or at least they're up there with a lot of the other people that you've got. So you're wasting more money by not using those talents that are on those bigger deals to their fullest. If you're like, this is something that still annoys me, but it's like the fact that they're not using Savannah Evans, it doesn't hurt them as badly, because I'm sure she's not on a huge deal. Not like that she's on a, on a nothing deal. I'm sure she's getting some money and she's like getting something, but I'm just saying she wouldn't be on anything like what the Hardys are on, or what Nemeth's on, or what Mustafa Ali was on, or whatever else. If you're a big name talent, obviously you're going to come in with a bigger deal because, well, you were worth a whole lot more and you've come from that place, and you're obviously thinking, well, I'm going to be paid roughly the same as what I was being paid, because it's like, well, even if I say, well, I'm getting paid as half as much, well, actually I work half as much, so, well, that kind of even out, like, that's fine, I'm not working as many dates, I'm not having to make as many trips, especially when they were just taping in Orlando, Florida there back in the day. Was like, well, I only have to make one trip, and it's it's always to the same place, and it's always to the same time, and it's always the same number of hours and whatnot. You've got that regularity, you've got that consistency, and then for the rest of the week, hey, you can do pretty much whatever you want to do. We do ask you to do some media or some things or whatever else, just to promote the brand of the company, and some social media and whatever else and whatnot. But, that's up to you to decide whether you're actually going to do that sort of stuff or go above and beyond or whatever else. If you really want to be, the face player of the game, it's like, yes, you're Kurt Angle, but, got some hungry young stallions here, and, just having you be Kurt Angle is not always going to be enough for that. We've got to build the rest of our roster and whatnot. And obviously you're not going to be here forever. So, we've got to build for our future, not just build for the fact that we've got you for now, whatever it is. Even if we've got you for 10 years. Well, that's fine. We've got a plan for you, which is, use you to your full potential for the first few years, then start scaling it back a bit, and then scale it back a bit more and back a bit more, and say, okay, well, maybe you'll have one last big hurrah near the end or whatever else, but you'll more or less go into a more not mediocre role, but more of a medium like use role. Like, you'll still be here and we'll still use you and we'll still keep, like, so obviously we've got to, but, because you're such a big contract, it's like, we've got to use you, and we've got to use you in a major way, mostly, but again, mostly focused on trying to build, again, what we've got, where we're going. So, you've got to look at, again, as I said, these deals, hopefully they will come through and be official. we'll hopefully see that soon. I think it was like a couple of weeks there for Sportsnet. But having said that, these next couple of deals we will find out soon, because again, like TNA Impact, the next TNA Impact airs on Thursday. And then the next show, I believe it's Saturday, and then Sunday, and then a Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday, repeat as well. So I don't know. It's like you've got all these things now, and you've got somebody to roll that dice. So hopefully, like, I think these tape shows are probably going to be more mediocre than the live show. So if the live show does what I think it will, which will double the viewers, in my opinion, hopefully, that's good, or even triple. Who knows? Wait and see. It depends what the circumstances of Genesis are. And we've got to sell that. We've got to sell tickets for that. We've got to sell pay-per-views for that. So we've got to get to work on, multiple fronts. But these extra distributions will help with that. So if they come through, or even if they don't come through, the fact again that people are seeing these things and going, hey, yeah, well, this is what we want, or this is the sort of thing that we want. Somebody give them a fucking chance. The more that we say, give them a fucking chance, the more likely it's, going to happen. So we've got to keep pushing for that, hope for the best. And we'll keep doing that. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and hope you guys will join me again in the next one.